Hey YouTube, and welcome to a Kerbal space program video. Today I'm going to be going from Kerbin, which is our home planet here, to the moon using a rocket that I built. So I'm going to show you the rocket now. I'm using parts from the NovaPunch remix pack, which is a mod which adds extra parts. I'm going to put the link to that in the description and the download to this rocket if you want it. But I'll I'll explain the stages with you. So this is the first stage. This is the stage that's going to get us into the atmosphere, well, through the atmosphere into space, and it will get us up to probably between 160 and 170,000 meters. So we've got these 4 rockets here, or 4 pairs of four rockets, I suppose you could say. I'm not sure. We've got fins and RCS nozzles. Nozzles? Is that even the right word? Well, RCS thruster blocks. There's 6 large fuel tanks here. There's these 4 here, then these 2, and then there's these 4 smaller ones. I added these ones as a second thought because I thought it would be better just to have a little bit extra fuel on board. And these rockets can definitely handle lifting the extra weight. We're only going to use probably 65% throttle because they'll overheat otherwise, and that's more than enough. So yeah, this is to get us into into space, and then we'll separate here, and then using this stage, this will get us into an orbit around Kerbin, and then it will do our we use it to get our trajectory towards the moon. There's these 4 funky looking things around it. They serve a few purposes. They've got 2 SASs on each, because the one SAS I don't feel like it was enough, the one up there. And then we have 2 RCS fuel tanks on each, although we don't really need them. And probably the most important thing they do is using struts here. It helps support this stage, between this stage, because if not it gets wobbly and it just topples over. We've also got these, there's 4 of them around and 1 at the bottom there. That's just to hold us steady on the launch pad. As soon as we engage our rockets, they'll detach. Then we have a decoupler here. This one's out of the NovaPunch remix pack, and some struts for to keep it from wobbling about. This stage here is going to get us in orbit around the moon, and then it's going to help slow our descent a little bit when we're going to land on the moon. As a RCS, as I've already pointed out, and then you've got a decoupler here, and this is going to be the actual unit which lands on the moon. There's 8 legs, and there's 5 fuel tanks and 4 RCS fuel tanks. I'm not sure whether this is going to have enough fuel to get us from the moon back to Kerbin, so I'm not going to do that this video, but I may attempt it in another. But in the event that we do, there's a decoupler here, and then this is going to go back into the atmosphere around Kerbin, and there's a parachute here, and we'll land in the sea, hopefully. And then we would be picked up by a boat, I guess. Even though boats aren't in this game. But yeah, let's go to the launch pad and get the show started. So here we are on the launch pad. As you can see, it's quite a tall rocket. You may think it's a bit overkill, but the design is really nice. It's really stable, much stabler than you'd imagine probably. The only issue is that when I separate this stage here, it propels this stage away a weird angle for some reason. So when we separate, we'll have to get ourselves back together. Well, not get ourselves back together, but get our trajectory, the position that we go in, back on track. So let's get our nav ball back up and let's lift off. So put our throttle at about 60%. Allow these engines here to overheat. And watch these as they separate. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure it's part of the mod pack that I've got installed. The download link to the mod pack and this rocket will be in the description if I haven't already said. So 3, 2, 1, lift off. I'll put the RCS on. I mean SAS. So it's pretty slow and quick at first. Pretty slow at first, the acceleration, but once we get through the thicker atmosphere into the thinner atmosphere, the acceleration definitely improves, and we get up to quite a nice speed, more than enough to get us way into space. This is where we're going to be going, the moon. It's 11 million meters away from Kerbin. There's also this other planet called Moomin. I haven't got there yet. As you can see, it's the moon is on a the moon's orbit is on a 90-degree plane to Kerbin, but as you can see, Moomin is at a slight angle, so that's definitely more tricky to get there. If we go back to our rocket, we're at 35,000 meters, and I'm going to start angling the rocket a bit along the 90-degree line on the nav ball, just to get our arch going a bit. This is our apoapsis. This is the highest point in our orbit, and once we get in orbit around either Kerbin or the moon, we'll have a periapsis, and the periapsis represents the lowest part of the orbit. So as you can see, it's quite stable. It wobbles around a bit, but for its size, it's definitely quite impressive. That's what she said. Okay, so we've just got through the thickest part of the atmosphere. Now we're in, I suppose you could say, the medium bit, and then this is the thinnest bit, and then we're completely out of the atmosphere. If you look in the bottom left, you can see the RCS working, and if we zoom into the panels, you can see the RCS moving those, and that'll keep us on the heading that we've told it to stick at using the SAS, and we can toggle the SAS by clicking T. I'm assuming as you're watching this, you already know the controls to Kerbal Space Program. If not, I suggest you go watch some videos on it, or look at some tutorials or something. This rocket took me probably about 40 minutes to build the basic thing, but then about an hour or so just for refinements. Like at first I didn't have these bits here, so this was wobbly, and I didn't have these extra fuel tanks, which are quite useful. All the rockets on this are thrust vectoring, so that helps us with our stability and our maneuverability in space as well. But we also have the RCS, which, as you can see, these nozzles which shoot gas out, and that'll help us maneuver and keep us steady in space. So as you can see, our apoapsis is getting pretty high, 100,000 meters right now. And I'm gonna, let's look at our fuel. We're nearly out of fuel, so I'm gonna cut the engines. Usually my apoapsis is a bit higher than that, but that I do. I'm gonna put the engines on slightly because we can use the thrust vectoring to help maneuver ourselves, but I'm gonna get on that 90-degree line and go a bit horizontal and get ready for our burn to do to get us into orbit around Kerbin using this stage. Can be a bit tricky, especially while we have all the stages attached, because it's pretty big, pretty sluggish. Okay, so we're pretty much centered on the horizontal line now, on the 90-degree line. So let's angle it a little bit to the left. Okay, stick the SAS on and turn our RCS off, and then we can kill these engines. And if we look, we're nearly at our apoapsis, so I'm going to separate this stage, and then engage those engines, angle away a bit, and then go for our burn to get us into orbit around Kerbin. By increasing our sideways speed, that will kick the legs of the arch out, and eventually they will come round to the opposite side of the planet. And then we will try and get in an evenish orbit around Kerbin, and then we're okay to go on our transition to the moon. So I'll speed through this. and you can see our orbit getting wider and wider. We've gone past our apoapsis now, so we're going to be a bit less efficient, but we'll still be fine. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we've gone quite a way past our apoapsis, more than I wanted to, but we're about to get our periapsis show up here because the legs are going to hit. Okay, and there's our periapsis, so that's going to be the lowest point in our orbit, and our apoapsis is the highest point. So we want to get this high enough so we're not going to be in the atmosphere and we're not going to get any drag. So 95ish should be good enough. Okay, so we'll kill the engines, and now we're in orbit around Kerbal, oval orbit. But when we get to our apoapsis here, which is 762,000 meters, I'm going to do another burn to make the periapsis go out a bit more, so we're in a more even orbit, and then we can do our burn to the moon. So I'm going to speed this up, and I'll come back when we're near our apoapsis. Okay, welcome back. So we're nearly at our apoapsis, but we've got to maneuver our ship so we're facing exactly the opposite direction as we are now, because this symbol here, which has got the X through it, that means that we are aiming in the direct opposite way to the direction that we're travelling. So we want to go around our nav ball until we see the other symbol, which is exactly the same as that but doesn't have the X through the middle, and that indicates the direction that we're travelling. Okay, slower turn down so we don't overshoot it. If you look in the bottom left, you can see the controls as I'm doing it. I'm using the keyboard, I don't have my joystick plugged in, but you don't have to be that refined. The planes you have to be a lot more refined with, because they're a bit tricky to fly. Okay, so we'll lock that in with the SAS, and we can turn our RCS off so we don't waste all that fuel. Okay, so I'm going to do a burn now, and you'll see our periapsis increase. What's our apoapsis at? 760, so we want this to be around there. Oh, okay, that'll do. 759, 777, close enough. So we're going to orbit around till we're about here in our orbit, and then once we see the moon on the horizon, so we're going to be going around the Earth like this, and once we see the moon go up on the horizon behind Kerbal, we're going to do another burn in the direction that we're facing, and then that will make our apoapsis go out, and then we should be caught by the moon's gravity, and then we can make our transition around the moon instead. So yeah, I'll see you then. Okay, so we're back. The moon is about to come up on our horizon, so we need to angle ourselves in the correct position. So let's swing our rocket down around. You got quite a nice view of Kerbal there, from 921,000 meters up. I had to increase the periapsis and apoapsis a little bit because I was using my rockets to get in a better position. Because I have the thrust vector in, it makes it a lot better than just using the RCS. But we have used up more fuel than I was intending to, so we might have to use this rocket before I was intending to, but that's fine because we usually have more than enough fuel left. Because I've tested this twice. The first time I failed and the second time I succeeded, just to make sure this video goes smoothly. So in orbit around Kerbal. Then we just wait for the moon to come up on the horizon, and I'll be back when it's there. Okay, so we've just saw the moon on the horizon, so we're gonna quickly just sort out our heading. Get back on that horizontal line, still on 90 degrees. And then put the SAS on. Turn our RCS off. Okay, and then do our burn. We're gonna run out of fuel, I'm pretty sure, before we get hooked by the moon's gravity, but we'll be okay. These are parts from failed missions, but yeah, we've run out of fuel, so we'll disengage this stage and watch how it kicks this stage off in a funny direction. See how it twists. But yeah, if we put our rockets on, we just got thrust vectoring in the RCS, the SAS will get us back on our heading that we was going. So, oh, maybe not. Let's turn it off and do it myself. Okay, get back in the middle of that circle. Okay, close enough, and then you can throttle up again. And you can see our apoapsis slowly going out, and then it's going to get hooked. You'll see an animation. We're going to get hooked by the moon's gravity, and I'm going to cut the engines, and then we're going to continue our orbit around until we get there, and then we can work around getting in orbit around the moon, and then our descent on the moon to land on the surface. So I'll speed through this bit. Okay, so we're going to get grabbed by the moon any second now. Or at least we should do. Well, that did not work out how I planned. We're going to get in orbit around the sun. Right. Wonder why that happened.